All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Fruits Basket, Season 2, Episode 22.
Okay,
Yes.
so Yuki sees Toru as a mother.
Yep.
This makes a lot of sense given the ways in which their not really romantic attachment had kind of floundered and flopped around and then got completely disconnected from any semblance of that.
We know what Yuki's half of the relationship is now. Mm-hmm. Cool. Awesome. And he feels very comfortable and confident in that. Like it's something where he has truly done a lot of soul searching and he knows himself very well. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So
and
now
sharing it with Manabe, Manabe just you're huge.
Elevating in Yuki's life, and love it. Mm-hmm. But now, what's the new norm? Like, now that Yuki has opened up about this, does this change, or will this change at all how he interacts with Toru? Because
I think 100%. It's just the question of, will it be more of a thing of where, for us, will it change anything, but in how it's perceived, or how it's perceived by other people? Because I think the idea that he's going to change is definite, but I think the more interesting thing is that other people are going to see different things. Like the difference between whether or not something is done versus something is perceived is really going to be like a big deal. Because I think a lot of the characters involved don't really notice too well, I would say, the way Yuki's been acting to Toru or around Toru, other than maybe Shigure. That's, I think, the only person I kind of think about like that, because no one else is really paying attention to Yuki, sadly. Now Yuki has all these people in his life that are a chaotic bunch of student council members, which are going to put on a play. Right, which also seems to be like a gold mine for hilariousness and memes and goofiness.
With the kind of show that Fruits Basket is, and all the hard emotions that it can get into. While I do believe that this play could be another source of hard emotion because of the whole thing of Toru and her breaking eventually.
We'll
potentially
eventually focus on Toru.
But at the same time, I feel like it could just be this wonderful balm of easy. Everything's peaceful and fun, and you don't need to worry about any of that other crazy, complicated shit that we'll get to in season 3 and maybe at the end of this season.
See, I feel like this is your melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya kind of thing, where you're like, why don't we just play music together and everything will be fine?
Just forget about Hakuto for a second.
I mean, in some ways, I feel like that's what Yuki's been doing. We just had the little incident with the closet. Right. And that was kind of his first, in a while, big kind of, oh, shit moment. But, I mean, he was broken out of that quite violently. And
he's got some good people around him and some strong chairs.
Yes. So let's continue that focus here and keep pushing Yuki towards these adorably awkward people, and see him kind of lean into that side of himself as well. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right. Okay, we've continued the Yuki focus and completed the Manabe conversation that they had together. Manabe kind of got to react a bit to Yuki's little mic drop moment there, and was like, "But she's the same age, right?" And do you want to borrow my mom? And he kind of poked around to see what it was, and it was really helpful, I would say, because Yuki kind of emphasized the things he wanted to emphasize, but in some ways he also kind of made sure that he was moving in a positive direction with it, because there's still some aspects of it that are not healthy. Well, but it's not progressively going to get worse in some ways, like when it was before it was being talked about. It's
I want to push back on the it not necessarily being healthy thing, but I feel like it was something where we got.
I was talking about parts of it, though. I was saying the whole thing. I was making a sweeping statement.
Gotcha. But yeah, the the conversation with Manabe, I feel like, was really helpful for a few reasons. For it to be fully the concept that Yuki was talking about in the externalizing of it to be fully crystallized into something specific, and it's also kind of a fun little underlining for the audience to answer potential questions that some of the audience could have about, like, wait, does this actually mean that he doesn't like Toru? Oh, okay, no, yes, it does actually mean he doesn't like Toru in that way, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah. He broke it down very specifically and emphatically, and even went through almost a timeline progression summarization of his thoughts and feelings for Toru throughout the show thus far.
Right. And the idea that he had the first realization back at the end of season 1, but then because that was something that scared him, he basically pretends it's not that.
And that's when he fell into that kind of fake stuff that he
right,
really
of the I will be the prince and all of that and everything, which I love because it's a wonderful rewriting of the prince on the one angle, because it's the person, like, this very much reminds me of, like, if you had any kind of romance story and the person is not willing to admit their feelings of love for the other person, that is still what was happening here, but it was just a different kind of love that he was scared of admitting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Love it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Fruits Basket was able to take almost 3 whole episodes for basically a conversation between two characters and have it not drag on or anything. All of it felt very much necessary to be said.
Yeah. The pacing of season 2 has been rather relaxed in a way that feels really, like, complete. It feels like there's a lot of angles that are being almost unnecessarily covered, to the point where it's like, oh, wow, I just feel like I have a really good understanding of these characters here, because I feel like I'm seeing even things that most stories just wouldn't give me that little bit of extra nugget of goodness in.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, Yuki is not the prince. Machi kind of gives us that little extra kind of meta thing of where she's got this kind of unique perspective on Yuki, because she's got the whole burden of family expectations, which could put her into a similar kind of connection feeling with Yuki. And she's like, no, he's not the prince. And she could be saying that because she actually has a pretty good view on him as well. It's not just a connection point to herself that she's seeing. But I liked that was done after we had the Yuki Kyo encounter at the school, where Kyo ends up punching the window.
Right.
Because Kyo got riled up in the classic Kyo fashion because, well, he's ready to have it out a little bit with Yuki.
Right.
But Yuki didn't respond in the condescending manner.
No. Like,
he kept himself even keeled,
Right, because... And that was one of the things that kind of surprised me this episode, because I didn't, like, I know that Kyo is very much like a hot-headed person, right?
Yeah.
And he has a ton of shit that he is still working through and needs to work through and everything.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect him to get that pissed when Yuki brought up the hat. Right?
Yeah, I think it's because it's tied to the point in his past where he really, really, really did not like Yuki. Because Yuki represents basically that aspect of the Zodiac whole thing.
Right. And
robbed him of his chance of happiness.
Exactly.
Basically.
And it almost felt to me like it might have been the feelings that he had back then that he was voicing at that moment in the hallway, rather than actually his present thoughts. But
that's kind of how it's always been with Kyo, right? He's been irrationally, like, testy around Yuki.
Yeah.
Because Yuki represents the opposite of him.
No, right. But like... recently, I feel like Kyo has gotten to a point where he's, whether as a result of his interactions with Toru or something like that, where I feel like Yuki hasn't gotten under his skin nearly as much recently as he used to.
Yeah,
right?
I think there's a reason for that. I think that's because Yuki has been actually changing so much, and also removing himself as often as possible, rather than a kind of testing him and prickling, like, being prickly with him intentionally,
because Yuki, it takes two to tango, right? Kyo is hot-headed. Yuki also knew how to get under his skin, right? And he would intentionally do those things because, it's a complicated set of reasons, right?
Yeah.
But with this one, this was something where Yuki wasn't actually intending to get under his skin. He was just trying to let him know, hey, by the way, she has the hat now, right? And I'm curious what you think the hat represents when he's talking about that, because it is definitely something from their past, but I'm not sure.
Represents, what do you mean though?
Well, like
more than just what it is. Like
yeah,
because
because I feel like Kyo wouldn't get that upset if he's just thinking of it as just a hat, right? Like
of course, but like it's tied to a very important moment from their past, so
no, right, but like. Just because it's tied to the moment, I'm more trying to figure out what would be the specific like emotional triggers basically that come from that, rather than just the association of that was a really rough time back then.
Well, in the episode, he talks kind of, well, it's more of a flashback kind of over like voiceover bit where he's talking about like anything he touches, like. I don't want anything to do with that. And that was Kid Kyo kind of talking there.
Right.
And that Kid Kyo does not have any understanding of why basically he's being treated this way. But he knows that at the very least, Yuki is like the representation of why he's not in favor with the Zodiacs. So that's something where he's like, oh, well then this kid is my problem. That's why he blew up at him in the backstory bit, in the little flashback.
Right. Yes.
So I think it's basically that is that he felt like he was trying to basically set him off. Like he felt like this was a jab of some kind.
Sure.
And he's like, really? Like what?
Yeah.
Why do you feel like you have to like insert yourself in these kinds of situations?
Right, and making a jab specifically revolving around Toru, like that.
It
almost
felt like a rhetorical question, I think, potentially from
Kyo,
from Kyo's perspective. I think it was kind of the thing of where he's also primed to think that things like that are some kind of verbal attack of some kind from Yuki.
I can see that.
And he's not thinking rationally about what it actually is empirically within just the immediate context of this bit here.
Yep.
Because he also didn't like build up to it in any way. So maybe
true.
It's a thing of where Kyo was testy about this being a potential situation, but he's also like, no, I'm just gonna go, have food
right.
later. I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Like if I were to if I were to guess based on like my understanding of Kyo and the show and the dynamics between the characters so far, might be something where because Kyo is very sensitive about Toru, because he also maybe hasn't fully come to grips with his own feelings for her, then when Yuki comes along and basically does things to try and like help him out, like
well, that's an intention thing.
No, right, but it's something where I feel like maybe Kyo kind of like doesn't trust it, maybe, or also is bothered by it because then it's someone else like thinking that they understand his feelings that he might not fully have admitted to himself yet.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bit too multi-layered for the kind of reaction he gives.
It's just I
think it's way simpler.
Instinctual response because of years of, associated like that's how I respond to things that Yuki does.
Yeah, exactly. And
sure.
I think also one of the other things is that Yuki is still not undersure. He does not truly understand how to be like succinctly communicating without maybe bringing in some of the like the verbiage or the tone of voice and some of the other things that he would use in those other contexts here, because Yuki's not, I would say, fully in touch with his feelings as well. He's way more, I would say, than Kyo, given recent stuff. But that's kind of where I would see it.
Yeah, he needed that whole experience to process with Manabe so that way he could actually talk through it.
Right, and that's why when we see the moment in the school and Kyo sees Yuki turn to him, Kyo's kind of shocked because he's like, oh, I don't see any of the typical condescension or anything like that coming from him. So, like, oh shit, wait, there's something different here.
Oh, so here's a theory. So before Kyo would always rise to the occasion when Yuki would prod him, right? He was ready to go, right?
Yeah.
Now, maybe the reason that he's frustrated, and back then we know that was something where Akito had made that whole deal about, like, you know, you need to beat Yuki and stuff, but you're never going to do it, and that's why Kyo's always trying. Right. But if now it gets to the point where Yuki has grown to the point where he's not going to antagonize Kyo, how does Kyo beat him, right?
And basically says, I don't need to fight you.
Right. And if Kyo's working on a timetable, then that might be something where he's like, well, shit, are you ruining my life again? You know, by basically saying, yes, possible. Like, in my own self-actualization, I'm now fucking you over, you know, right? Like,
right. And that, I think that lines up rather well with the idea that Kyo is overtly looking for ways in which Yuki is fucking him over. Like, he's
it's
trying to find a needle in the haystack thing. Yeah, exactly. But it's really cool, though, seeing Yuki kind of give him, like, some proper, like, hey, you should go check in on Toru.
Yep.
Just FYI, buddy. I really like it because, on the one hand, Yuki's motivation is to keep Toru, not to keep, this feels a bit manipulative, but, like, to look out for Toru's happiness because he has, I would say, not the best kind of moniker attached to her for who she is, really, to him. I think it's something that is totally fine to have, you know, temporarily, but it's something that now that he's let it out, it's something that I think that he needs to make sure he doesn't overstep his bounds and basically attach too much emphasis on him. Kind of, I would say, prying into the relationship between Kyo and Toru.
Exactly. That's their own thing, right?
But that's I think that I think Kyo could sense at times, theoretically.
Right.
And could be like, hey, back off, dude. That's, you know.
Right. And now it might be something where it's strictly coming from a place of like all above board stuff, right? Like there's no barbs to it or anything like that. But he might be both looking out for Kyo and Toru, right?
Yeah, but it still doesn't matter about the intentions. It's about how Kyo or everybody's going to perceive it, right?
Totally. Yeah. And because of past history and things like that, it's complicated, right?
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a play. We've got a play.
It's being rewritten.
It's being rewritten in the final hour.
Yeah.
How do you think this is going to go?
I think it's going to go great.
Like, this is going to be the most gigantic, enormously, like, silly shit show with fabulous costumes, though.
Fabulous costumes.
With absolutely flawless costumes.
I can't believe that in the pre-discussion when we were talking about, like, obviously the three, you know, or was it in the OP? But the three, you know, the three boys, right, are obviously going to watch this play.
Right.
That, of course, IMA would do the outfits, right?
Of course he would.
Yeah.
Of course Shigeru's going to be with the camcorder, like, You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, they're going to be bored without someone to torment, so they're going to take Hattori with them.
Yep.
And then, you know, they're going to be fighting over the camcorder. They're going to be like, you know, like...
It's going to be a whole thing, and it will be wonderful.
They're going to be the group that gets kicked out right before the final act because they're talking too much from the seats and stuff. And they're like, no, I must see the moment where Kyo becomes a man.
But here's something that I could see helping out.
So. Yes.
Master's going to be there. Kazuma, he's going. Kyo told Toru, he's like, don't tell him about this.
So I thought there was a possibility that she was giving the
I already told him
look, but it might also be the like, fine, okay, I was going to immediately after this, but
and also
okay, I respect your wishes.
Right, and it also could be something of like the all right, we need you to keep a secret. You know, right? She's like.
Yeah, we saw how well that worked with Shigure, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, you know, Toru could fully intend to not let Kazuma know.
Yeah, I personally, I personally would wish Toru respects Kyo's wishes, and
I think
does not tell Kazuma at all.
I think she will absolutely respect Kyo's wishes to the best of her ability, but
I really hope Kazuma is not there, personally.
Yeah? Like, not even, like, Toru, like, if someone else were to tell him, not Toru, like...
No, I just hope he's not there.
Okay.
Because I want this to be a happy, fun thing where I forget about the fact that Kyo is literally on a timetable, and this is potentially going to be the last fun thing that he does, like, with his class.
One of the things I'm curious to see, because given that they said that they're...
Yeah.
But given that they said that they're rewriting the script, I feel like we are due to actually see the play in full.
Oh, they have to.
Yeah.
They absolutely have to. They've built up to it too much.
Yep.
It's the kind of thing of where, the school is having a culture festival. Well, we have to at least see it in the background that there's a culture festival going on.
And even if the script was kept the same, we'd need to see just, like, the highlight reel of, like, all the times that Hana is trying to be Cinderella.
Exactly.
You know?
I don't need to have a 20-minute play, but having, like, 3 minutes, if you will, of, like, abridged scenes out of, like, just out of a quick whap. That would be wonderful.
But at this point, I would not be surprised if we got, like, half an episode.
Given the pacing of season 2, I actually feel like we're due for a full, like, 8 to 12 minute play with lots of cutting out of the plays, but there to go backstage, and have some like drama and stuff going on there.
Yeah, see the responses of the people in the audience, things like that. Like,
but I need Uotani reactions and just goofy faces in general.
Absolutely. But one of the things that I'm curious about is, if this ends up being used as a way for Kyo to process things, and or Toru, or any of the characters really, and since that it's written by someone else that basically said, hey, maybe we can write the role in such a way that will suit you better, that could be a very interesting look as to how the rest of the world sees you, right? Because if all of the roles are potentially being rewritten, then you get to see what people think would fit well with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And interesting.
And I could see that going a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think there could be some fun surprises that we go, oh shit. Because in some way, that's kind of what Yuki kind of completed the conversation about here, which is, this is how I see someone. And then someone else kind of goes, oh, that's how you see them? Okay.
Right.
That's not all bad. It's that stuff kind of can happen.
Yep.
But, you want something different. You want to discover your own thing. Oh, okay, cool. I, as Nabe, will not give you the best time reacting to this. I will not be unburdened by this.
Yeah, no,
it was the worst ever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kick a soccer ball in your face.
Right. And
I fucking love Manabe.
Manabe is wonderful.
So good.
And I think one of the things that makes him so fantastic is that he isn't just, like, in a dissonant way, his own crazy energy that just sits there.
Yeah.
He is able to bring other people into it and also match the energy that the other people are at in that point, right? He was a great listener, and then afterwards he does this whole thing with the soccer ball, and Yuki is able to share with him in that, right?
Yeah, it's something that I really respect the creator for doing here, because this is something that is the classic trope of the punch after someone just shares something like emotional, which is kind of a thing of like, you got this, wake up, okay. But no, this isn't really that. This is a play on the fact that Toru was specifically shown to be the one that takes everything perfectly in stride, flawlessly accepts all things there, shows unconditional love, which I will tell you is basically impossible for a human being to do, really.
Yeah.
It's possible in the fact that math has to work out, but we don't want to go into the proofs of how math works, but
Yeah.
The idea that he gave Yuki the opposite experience of that, despite being an active listener, is showing Yuki that you don't need to get your eternal sustenance from the goddess Toru.
Right.
You know, that's literally like not who you are. You are not a child,
Right.
Yuki. Therefore, you can have friends that are flawed and awkward doofuses that kick you in the face, basically, and get amazing, loving, wonderful connection from them.
And in another way, even from within the context of like Yuki seeing Toru as a mom, one of the important things to happen in the stages of growing up is that you start to see your parents as flawed people, right? Because that's what they are. And that's where you're able to then separate yourself, have them still potentially be that role, but you just understand that that's not all there is, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you know, like the dynamic that Yuki and Toru have developed doesn't need to be thrown out.
Nope.
It just needs to have proper boundaries, right? And hey,
and he's going on the acceptance journey right now. He's pretty much done with the first stage or two of that, and now Kyo and Toru will have their turn. Yeah. And I'm really excited in some ways for a really cathartic like breather before we get back into the Akito side of things.
Yeah,
because I feel like this school stuff.
Now.
Yeah, exactly. Same. I feel like this school stuff is exactly what we need right now. And now that the focus seems to have been passed, like the hat, if you will, to Kyo and Toru, with the end of the episode having them have that really tender moment where he kind of leaned on her shoulder a bit there, and was just like, okay, you win.
Yep.
I'll do
right.
this.
That was wonderful.
That was
because like
that was wonderful. Yeah.
It's it was a very helpful thing for me personally to then see here's a situation where Kyo still hasn't completely resolved the ways in which he needs to grow, but no, that's not just like some melodrama that's being brought in or whatever for the sake of melodrama or whatever, right? Like he still has changed, right? So it's an ongoing struggle.
Yeah.
And now we'll get to see that struggle in a lot closer detail, I'm guessing. But,
so good.
Oh boy.
So, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.